Martial arts and life have a lot in common. Both take a tremendous amount of patience, determination, grit, a strong mindset. And to get either done correctly, you need the right people to listen to. This is Beyond the Mat, the podcast where real talk meets raw insights. Get ready to dive deep into the world of martial arts, coaching, business, and health as we bring you candid conversations with professionals, coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs who are making waves beyond the confines of the dojo. From the adrenaline-fueled arena of combat sports to the boardrooms of successful enterprises, Beyond the Mat is your go-to destination for real and raw discussions, plus invaluable lessons learned on and off the mat. So, if you're ready to unlock the secrets to success in every aspect of your life, let's do this. Live from the Great 1-8, this is Beyond the Mat, where warriors are made and legacies are forged. Here's Mark Cox.
All right. Good morning. Looks like we're live and everything's up and going. David, it's good to see you this morning.
Good morning, brother. It's great to see you too.
All right. So what I'm going to do before we get started, let me get comments turned on. So if people want to ask questions, they can come and ask us some questions. We'll see, making sure all of our streams are live. I haven't been here as much because I told you I had a little hiatus, but we're back now. So you're my first interview since I've come back.
That's awesome, brother. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to have a good time. There we go. All right, I'm all set. All right, well, good morning, everybody. This is Mark Cox. If you're here live on our Beyond the Mat podcast, and we got a special guest today. I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you what his mission is exactly, and then we're just going to get into this awesome interview and some life-changing stuff that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to hand it right over to you, Dave. Go ahead and introduce yourself and what your New Beginnings motivation is all about, and we're going to dive right in.
Yes, sir. Well, first thing and foremost, Mark, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you this morning. Like Mark said, my name's Dave Vrablik. I'm the founder and president of New Beginnings Motivation, and I started the business a little over 7 years ago after the passing of my older brother. He was a 14-time Ironman finisher, and we lost him at the age of 39. And I decided that I wanted to take that pain and that fuel of losing my brother and turn it into a fuel source to start helping those who are struggling after the loss of a loved one, because my brother and I were extremely close. And obviously we're still extremely close, even though he's not with us anymore. And ever since his passing, I've been doing virtual events and some live events throughout the years, and have been working with those to help them enter a Basecamp to help be able to start the healing process and help them along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those that are joining us now, we've had some time on the phone to talk about kind of loss. You know, I told you that I have a nephew that was a firefighter in Colorado that passed because not from the fire, but actually of a cancer of a surgery that he has, and left behind 5 children, and missed his last daughter by 2 weeks before he was passing. So that just kind of took a toll on the whole family. So let's start with that first, where the hitting of a brother that obviously he was a serious athlete, correct?
Yes, sir.
And let's start with what that looks like, that phone call, and the start of what happened when this phone call happened. Let's talk.
Yeah, man, that phone call, I still remember the details down to the second of it. And it's something that I wish I could forget. But it was on April 19th, 2018, my sister-in-law called me to tell me that we lost him. And at first I thought it was my father. Because he has stage 4 bladder cancer, which is in remission. But it wasn't my father, it was my brother, obviously. And after that phone call, I was married at the time, and after my wife collapsed on the floor in tears, and I went down to her because my brother and my wife were extremely close, like brother and sister. I asked her if she was capable on getting up and going over to my parents' house to go be with my sister-in-law because I had to make some phone calls. And she was able to get up and take our dog Brandy and get over to the house so that she could be with Stephanie. And after I did get in touch with Boulder PD and get confirmation that Joe was gone, that's when the emotions hit me, and that's when I collapsed before I left the house. And that after that moment, that's when everything started and the fight or flight mode kicked in, and I jumped into the fighter mode. And I'll never forget that phone call when I had to be the one to call my parents and tell them that my brother passed away, and still hearing the screams and the not my baby, not my baby, and my father going, no, 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 in the background while they were on vacation. It's still something that haunts me to this day. And after everything that getting them back from St. Croix, family flying in from all parts of the country, that was the easy part. I think it was the months and the years that followed was the hard part. Living with the fact that I was the heart patient in the family that had open heart surgery in 1984 and had several heart procedures in the years to follow, and not knowing that Joe was going to have something like this. And then he has one heart issue, and then that was it. And I still grapple with that on a day-to-day basis and living with that. And that's what the challenge has been. And living with that has always been a struggle for me, and still having those memories of hearing those screams and having to be the one to call was something that was extremely challenging.
Well, I think that, I agree with that as far as remembering phone calls like it was yesterday, and on the anniversary of every anniversary of his death is, it was a major thing on the news. So you'll get things up on Facebook, his walk, because Cody wanted all his organs going to help others. And so you have that walk down the hospital and seeing my sister behind her son. It's pretty traumatic. Even today, it's took me a long time to even speak about it on his birthdays or to talk about it. I'm just kind of now being able to do that, because I don't know. So I guess sometimes you just think it's kind of a bad dream, and the dream comes to an end, and it never comes to an end ever.
Nope.
So that's where I think that, I can relate to that portion. Now, how did it affect you personally? Did you have some fallback out of this because of your brother? Relationship, physically, anything of that sort?
I did have some fallback from this personally. So after my brother's passing, I was married about 4 years after his death, and sadly, about 4 years after his death, my wife filed for divorce and walked out, and I lost two very important people in my life that I thought would always be with me all the way till the end of my days, which I'm hoping is still another 40, 45 years. So that was heartbreaking because I didn't get married until I was about 30, 31 years old. So I was a little bit later in life to get married. And then after that, I've always struggled with weight. I was a binge eater. And I didn't realize this until after my brother's death. Whenever traumatic events or stressful events happened, I always went to my old friend, Burger King and Outback Steakhouse. And even though in the time when I would be eating the food, it would make me feel like crap afterwards. And I realized after my brother's death, and then after my ex-wife filed for divorce, I went from 240 pounds up to 310 pounds within a 4-month time frame. And then after that, I realized I was slipping very, very quickly and very rapidly. And I found out that when my brother passed away, it was a genetic disorder. And I was putting a lot of stress on my heart. And I finally realized it was time to go and get some help. And I started to lose weight slowly, and I started doing that. But psychologically, I started to lose confidence within myself. I started doubting every aspect of my life. And I knew deep down that it was because I didn't have my biggest champion in my life. And that was always my brother. My brother was always the type of guy that would always, whenever I would struggle in my life, I would always call him up. And I had to become that own champion within my own life. And that's still a work in progress. And going through all those challenges within my life, that's when I finally became my own champion and stopped becoming the villain in my own life.
Yeah, traumatic stuff. It will definitely test it's going to test your resolve. That is for sure. And so when you went on a health journey, when this happened, did you get, what was your motivation to go ahead and try and get on your health track? What made you pass the point of, or when there was a time saying, hey, listen, I need to make a change?
It started with my cardiologist telling me that you have to do something, because if you put more pressure on your heart, you could potentially meet the same fate as your brother. Because, an aortic dissection is a tear in your aortic wall. And that was like a 2x4 in between the eyes. And my best friend, Austin, who is my business partner in my business, who I've known for 18 years, I started driving back up to Des Moines, Iowa, and hanging out with him because that's where he lives with his wife and his 2 boys, who are my nephews. I started hanging out with these guys, and they started filling my life with a lot of joy. And they reminded me a lot of what it meant to feel like being an uncle. And I realized I can't chase these guys around the backyard if I'm 310 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. And physically, I love to be outdoors. I'm a big game hunter. I'm a bird hunter. And I had my left knee replaced. My body was breaking down at the age of 40 years old. And I finally realized if I want to be active and I want to get back out there, I need to start making some small changes. And that's when I started doing intermittent fasting. And I started working with a weight loss doctor here in Colorado, because I had to have my thyroid taken out because I had thyroid cancer in the midst of everything. And that's when everything started. And I started reclaiming my life. And over time, I've dropped so far about 85 pounds. I'm down to 218 pounds. And I've still got a little more ways to go to get to the ideal weight that I want to get to. So I feel stronger and I can do what I want to do.
That's good. I think that will resonate with a lot, because I think after at some point when your mind's made up, you have to make some decisions, and it's not anybody else's but your own that can make a change. People can push you from behind, or they can encourage you, but at some point you have to make a shift in your mind to take on the responsibilities, or own up to your responsibilities that, hey, I put myself here. Now I'm going to have to fix it.
Yep.
Regardless of what that looks like, you've either got this little voice that tells you you're awesome, or you got, or you got a little bitch voice that tells you you ain't, you're not. Yep. It's, and that one kind of creeps up on us all the time. So trying to get that boss voice back is something encouraging, especially after you after you are just with a traumatic thing, I see how this happened even with my own family. And I think everybody kind of grieves in their own way, whether it's food or whether it's a depression or whether it's like you push it aside and you go to work more. It was tough. Yeah. I think we spoke, your brother, was he married at the time?
Yes, he was. They were just coming up on their 2-year wedding anniversary. I think it was, he passed away on April 19th and their wedding anniversary was April 22nd. So they almost made it to their 2-year wedding anniversary.
Mm-hmm. And is there children involved with your brother?
No.
No children.
Just 2 fur babies.
Yeah, right. The dogs. And I think we spoke a little bit that was even hard because your relationship with him, with his wife, was a little bit rocky too. Death has a weird thing of how it erases things.
Yep.
And who it affects the most, we always talk about, it's not the deceased that it affects, it's the ones that are living the aftermath of it.
Yeah. I've seen it affect people in so many different ways since being left behind. I know he's having so much fun up in heaven, living life to the max up there, playing golf with my grandfather, hanging out and having a blast up there. And we're all down here grieving his loss. And, what I always try to encourage everybody down here, hey, Emilio, I keep telling everybody, you got to live life, guys. I know what Joe would want us to do, to live our lives to the fullest and just to keep going. And it's the purpose that I keep doing with my life. And it's just the thing that it's hard to do. And it's just what we have to do.
That's all true. I know that I remember my son kind of had we were in Colorado for this. I remember this vividly. And it was a funeral day. My son and I are in this Airbnb. And funny enough, the Airbnb is owned by a firefighter. And then when I told him, these people like, well, these people are going to be here for their death, and they didn't even charge us, right? It was like a whole family thing. I never seen anything like it, right? The firefighting family is immensely and we stayed back, but my son, I remember us trying to get up and I could not wake him up. I couldn't wake Michael up. I mean, he was in such a deep sleep that I took a shower and I came back, and then when he eventually tells me the story the next day or two. He's like, Dad, I had such a vivid dream of Cody. And I don't feel the sadness today because I'm telling you, I saw him and it was so vivid when he turned to me and he says, what are you doing here? This is not your time to be here. And he was good. He's super outdoorsman, just like you talked about. That's exactly where he was. He goes, it was like he hugged me, embraced me, Dad. And my son didn't tell the story for a while. And I always wondered why God picked him, because it's coming from him who was close to his uncle, but it wasn't like, like this relationship they talked every day. It was just enough that coming from Michael, that was just a soothing story per se. Yeah. And so it was so vivid and for him, and he just didn't have remorse after that. He was okay with it because he felt like he had seen and had some finality to it. And of course, if you're a Christian, our thought process is a little bit different on where we're going and where we're heading. And he was a strong Christian, and that firefighting, this family, if you go on YouTube, you can see he went elk hunting and he put it all out on YouTube.
Nice.
He documented it. And that elk that he caught, the firefighters turned into meatballs, his meat at his last day at the station,
That's awesome.
and that we celebrated there. They cooked his elk up. It was awesome. The firefighting place was just awesome. So I get where, and then it's quick how time flies. Days seem to be very long and years seem to be very short.
Yes, it does.
And when we look back and it's been 5 years, it's been 6 years, and we struggled with. I think I shared this with you, that we knew that his wife, it was important that there was a dad, but man, that was tough watching a new guy come and take over Cody's children, what those children went through, and a good guy too. He's a good dude. It's just, I guess in our own minds, it's like, man, that's just not fair. What.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll start questioning faith, and you'll start questioning things as opposed to being thankful for things.
Yeah.
I just noticed that, so I guess underneath it all, we're still kind of upset, maybe upset with God, even that why'd you take him, man? Why'd you take him like that? So, it has, grief has a lot of things to it. My home gym has a big, my dad had made me a big, it hangs in here. It's a big flag with his picture, a firefighter's flag with his picture in the middle of it here at the studio. And then I've got things at my gym that kind of reminds me, he's never not out of my thought process, and now it's a point too, when I see him now, it's like, it's a fist up and, Cody, how's it going? We're going to be seeing each other soon.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so that's it. So I guess that kind of drives you to do what you want to do. Now, have you written any books from this? Are you looking at books? And what did you decide to do from this grief to take it to, let's get out of the grief stage and into the positive stage, right? What did you decide to do with this kind of loss?
So, I started out doing, virtual events, and that led into the first publication of a book that I started working on a couple of years ago, and it was published on the anniversary of his 6-year passing, which was last year. And it's called Basecamp, The Start of a New Beginning, and it's a biography on my life. And it started out with the loss of my brother and how I navigated the challenges of losing him. And I use everything with the terminology and the analogy of the mountain, because I live here in Colorado, and I've been here, which will be 30 years in September. And it's a tribute to my brother and how he impacted my life, and a couple of other challenges that I've been through after his passing. And it was a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Joe. And Michael Faber from the Unleash Now family wrote the foreword in the book, which I was truly honored and grateful for. And so Basecamp is available now through the NMB Store. And I love what it stands for as a tribute to Joe. And after that, I've been doing virtual summits this year. We've done 3 as of now, and later today, I'm at noon announcing our 4th one that we're doing next month. And I'm really excited about this next summit coming up, because it's unique and it's very special, because I wanted to do something that would be needed more than ever right now. And it's something that is, I think, that's very close to my heart and soul. It's called Beyond the Goodbye and Honoring the Legacy. Especially what's going on in our world right now, I think it's needed more than ever. And we're doing this on July 24th. And I think there's a very awesome individual that can do some really cool boxing stuff that I just met a couple of weeks ago that's going to be a part of it. That right now, instead of living in fear, let's create a legacy that's going to live for generations to come. And I'm really excited for what this event's going to bring. And I took what I learned and what I put and poured into my book to bring out to the masses, because there's so much fear, Mark, that's going on in our world right now, that if we can get out of that fear and live on the summit and scream our declaration and anthems and honor the legacies of those that we've loved, and not only that, but also create the legacies that we want to live for our loved ones, it's going to be a beautiful thing to witness. And that's what I'm excited for, what we're going to be bringing next month.
Yeah, now that's a virtual summit that you're talking about. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. So we can put that out there. You're going to have, let's talk about how that's going to be broke down. You're going to have speakers coming in at certain things. Let's talk about what that virtual summit is going to look like. Yeah.
Right now we've got about 15 speakers lined up. It's a one-day event. It's scheduled for July 24th. It's going to start between around 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time with an hour break for lunch. And we're going to pour into everyone on Facebook with personal stories of uniting together and getting beyond the goodbye of those that we've lost and honoring their legacies. And we're going to just come together for one day and just pour into each other and be able to provide some love, hope, and unite together as a family to be able to get out of all this toxicity in our world that we're living in and come together as a family. And if anybody wants to know anything, they can feel free to DM me.
Yeah. And that summit, what's the name of that summit?
It's called the Mountain Summit Virtual.
I'm going to put that in the chat. The Mountain Summit Virtual. We're going to have 15 speakers that are going to be there. And, you know, and I think that what happens, I think I told you this too, when I wrote my book, I got into a whole nother realm of people that I got to meet.
Yeah.
And most people that are writing books, you know, I encourage everybody to kind of write a book, because the stories that everybody has, because everybody's fighting something. Every single person I know could be fighting something that, you know, they don't know is either holding them back or what that's going to look like. So I think that, you know, having a summit where you guys can talk and then you get a little bit of nuggets of like, wow, there's a lot of people. Well, you know, when you do this kind of thing, the similarities of a death especially come out, or, you know, or maybe it's the fear of the unknown of what really happened. And then that starts wiggling your faith a little bit. Maybe I'm not as faithful as I think if I'm this fearful of what really went down. You know, I think, you know, lucky for me, my folks are still here and alive, but I will tell you that my mom is 100% convinced where she's going. She knows exactly where she's going. And it's not even, you know, and I know when that time comes, it's, you know, her first thing will be to go see Cody. You know, that's what she goes, he'll be waiting for me. I know he will. They were very close, my mom and him. And so I just know that, that comfort comes in a lot of ways, but so does growth out of this, you know. So we, you know, either it consumes you negative, like depression, or it's going to explode you into a whole new level where it will impact thousands of people's lives.
Amen to that, brother. Because I can tell you this, when God calls me home, the first person I'm going to go see is my brother, give him a hug, and then I'm going to kick him in the rump. And, you know, that's just how our relationship always was. And what I can tell you about with this summit, and this has been the way with it since the very first one back in February is, one of the biggest things that I had to do after his death was I needed to get unstuck. I needed to get out of my head. I needed to get, the fear was consuming me because I honestly had no idea how I was going to live my life without him because we did everything together. And so I had to get unstuck. And my wife couldn't help me do it. My parents couldn't help me do it. Nobody in my family could help me do it. It had to be a conscious choice that I had to make. And not only was it a thinking process that I had to do, but I had to get deep into my heart and deep into my soul and figure out what is David all about and what did David want to do. And once I did that, I was able to get unstuck and I was able to get moving forward again. And that's when I was able to unite with people who became not just friends, they became family. And what I realized was along this journey for the last 7.5 years, and what I've discovered since the very first summit back in February to the last one in May, not everyone has a family that supports them after the loss of a loved one. Sometimes they're journeying along without the support. And what the mission of the summit is, that family's not all about blood. It's the people that you choose that you want as family. Myself, and it sounds like you have the love and support from family, but I wanted to create this to show that you can come and be with us and be within family and unite together, and we will love you and be with you and support you along this healing journey.
Well, I think that's 100% true. That family is not blood related. I can tell you that. Just if it wasn't for my studio over the course of my life, whether the many things that I've had to, the adversity that's come up against me, if I didn't have this family here kind of pushing and keep driving behind you, it would have been very difficult for me to navigate and come out the other end for sure. Yeah. The studio of mine, it says I've changed thousands of lives, and the funny thing is, thousands of people have changed me. Yeah. So it's really what's come about. I hear it all the time. Your school, yes, it's impacted thousands of people's lives, but all the ones that it's impacted them, the impact back to me has been tenfold, to the point that you wonder why somebody like me, I'm not any kind of a special college grad or anything like that. I started my martial arts school as a ministry at a church. And that's where it started. And then after 2 years of growing it and finding out some gifts I had, I opened it. It almost closed 6 months into it because I just didn't understand business at all. God put the right mentor in my life, and that mentor, who I'm still friends with today, is responsible for, many people having their own school out of this little thing that I grew. And then it spidered out to the ones that opened up their own school, and they're changing lives in their own way in their own school, all based on this little tiny thing. And then, and every once in a while, hiccups come along the way, and the hiccups being death. And I've lost a lot of students. I've carried students' caskets to their grave. I've carried students' children's caskets to their grave because they're so grieved they can't do it. I've been at their marriages where I signed the marriage certificate. On the opposite end, or their baby was born. I might have been the first one that's held their baby since when it was born. I was in the hospital when it came. So this is just this, and this has nothing to do with blood. This is just what in the martial arts family, especially, is what happens. It's right. What it does. And so this is the same way. This summit can do the same thing. And I'll encourage people to, you've let me be allowed to be a part of that now. So I'm looking forward. I've been kind of working on what I'm going to bring to the table there. It's a little rough because it has to, when you talk to me about, hey, why don't you come and speak? And I'm like, well, I'm going to speak about Cody. And then you got to kind of run through the whole thing again in your head, right? Like, and what, now it's been years since his passing, but what is it I can bring to the table to talk about as far as code goes? What changes? And I told you some stories about him, what he charged, the people that you meet at his funeral, of whose lives he saved because he was a paramedic, firefighter. It was so I'm looking forward to that. And so the summit part, I think, and then you said you had another, you went to a direction of other families. Is this where you came into Mike Favor? Are you with Michael on a level in his Unleash You?
Yeah, I've been part of Michael Favor's community since 2020, and we connected over the commonality, unfortunately, of the loss of both of our brothers. And both of our brothers' names are Joey. And we just bonded over that, and we've been brothers ever since, Michael and I. Michael's my coach, and he's helped me build my business to where it is today. And one of the things I modeled my business off of how Michael's built his business is making it about family. And that's just something I've absolutely loved. Because Michael is the epitome of family. He loves the blue and green like it's his own flesh and blood. And I've been like that my entire life. And that's how my father built his business. He ran a business out here in Colorado for 20 plus years and retired back in 2012. And when I met Michael, it was a no-brainer for me to jump in and join his group. His family. I don't even like calling it a group because it's not a group, it's a family. I met a lot of amazing people within the blue and green that they're there if it's a midnight meltdown. If I'm thinking of my brother, people will pour into each other and support one another. And that's the same thing with New Beginnings Motivation. People will pour into each other. I get calls and messages about what they're doing, starting something new or doing something that they've never done before. And I love getting those messages because it's just hearing the excitement and just seeing people win. And that's what fills my heart with so much joy. And that's what family is all about. And that's how I love what Michael has taught me and how close Michael Faber and I have become as brothers, because nobody can ever fill the shoes of my brother Joe. Those are shoes that will never be filled. But if it wasn't for having Michael and my friend, my other brother, Austin Cunliffe, life would be very difficult to get through. So I'm truly grateful for these two guys.
Yeah, that's I know Michael. So I'm not part of that like the being able to go to his weekly stuff, but him and I have become really good friends. We've been at a lot of events together, and I've gotten to know him really well. He's a real genuine dude. And he was going to put me on a virtual stage there that he does that big virtual thing with and then of course, when I was going to do that, the storms hit in Georgia, and I got properties out there that I had to call and tell him. I said, I can't come and do this, man. I've got trees down everywhere here. And first thing out of his mouth is, do we need to drive down there to help? That's the first thing he asked me. And I said, I couldn't take you away from what you're doing, but knowing the fact that you would do it is awesome. And so that's just the way he was. And so you're definitely connected with some good folks. And he's kind of a sheepdog with his own people, he's a good dude that way. I enjoy, even though I don't see him here, and I'm going to give him a little bit of grief when I talk to him that, wow, we have one of your people on, because he will make you feel guilty. So I will for sure make him feel guilty when I talk to him. And when you rehear this, Michael, just know that, because I know you're going to listen to the audio part of it.
Yeah, he's going to give me grief tomorrow because we have a coaching call tomorrow at 11. So
you can tell him, yeah, Mark Cox gave you some grief, bro.
I will.
He's going to go, oh, man.
Yeah.
So it's a good guy. So this 24th summit, let's talk about that. What that's going to look like first of all, you said you had one in February and you had one last May.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell me some stuff you've learned by doing both of them. You know what I mean? The very first one, what came about from that one that set up the May one?
What I learned from the February one, it was the night before I did it, I was half tempted to cancel it because I was afraid to really put myself out there. I had all of them were heavy, powerful, hitting, amazing men and women. And I didn't feel like I belonged in the lineup. You know, when you get that imposter syndrome, right? And this one was stepping beyond the fear and going all in on it, right? And I was half tempted just to message everybody and say, "Oh, I have a migraine, I have a headache," because I had a mild traumatic brain injury back in 2022. And I do get these a lot. I get these pretty much every single day. And my heart was telling me, "What the hell are you thinking, dude? You're not going to do this. You belong with this lineup. You know what you're doing." And when the event kicked off, seeing the courage and the bravery of everyone on that stage was absolutely incredibly powerful. It was one of the most beautiful things I witnessed. And after the event ended, yeah, we went 13 and a half hours on Facebook, and that took it out of me, dude, because sitting in front of a computer with a brain injury like I had, it roared my head up into a migraine that I had for 5 days, and I felt not the greatest, and I had to go sit in a dark room, but it was one of the most rewarding things I have ever done because we impacted over 1,000 people on Facebook. We had over 20 people in the VIP Zoom room. And I knew that we had to do something again immediately. And even though it took a couple months because I was struggling with different ideas and what I wanted to do for the theme for the one in May, and that was embracing vulnerability, right? The one in May, I brought in new people from different areas. You know, I always have the blue and green because that's my family. That's, you know, Michael Favor. I always want him to be a part of that. But I started reaching out to different communities and started talking about the mission, started to share the story of Joe and starting to step up and embrace what New Beginnings stands for. And people were saying, yes, I want to be a part of this. And we pulled this all together. And in May, we impacted 1,400 people on Facebook. And the numbers kept going up, and people were reaching out to me and saying, we want more of this. We want to see, we want to heal. We want to be able to honor our loss of our loved ones. And that's when we went even beyond that. That's when we decided, my buddy Austin and I, when I say we, that's my buddy Austin. Austin saved my life back in 2007 when I attempted to take my own life. He's the epitome of the reason why I'm still here today, with God saving my life. But he and I decided, let's go beyond that. Let's do something in July. Let's do something even bigger. Let's do something unique, especially in a world that needs it right now. We created our YouTube channel. And we were so excited about this. And it's all about serving and getting to people that need to hear this story. Not only about what I do, but it's to create the legacy for my brother Joe. And it's just one of those moments when I can sit back and say, holy crap, my brother's legacy is living on by sharing what Joe Vrablik was all about. And seeing that is the biggest win for me personally. To know that people are hearing about Joe and about what I'm doing.
That's super. That's really awesome. That thought process. I think that, when you asked me to be part of it, I'm like, wow, just like you said, I'm like, well, I'm going to get to bring Cody's story out again. Right. And who's going to relate to it, being a first responder or a father of 5, or what our family goes through as far as watching, another man come in and raise children. And then they even have a new brother or sister from that family. So it's even grown from that. And knowing that Cody's not upset about it, I think that's the hardest thing that, I know he's not upset about it. We're upset about it. He ain't upset about it. He's probably like, you guys are wasting your time on stuff that has matters not. It's I'm sure of that. I'm 100% sure of that. So I think that when we go about this, and we have this will go, you always have the video portion of this on that's live, and then it's on YouTube also on all this. All my stuff, it will be transcribed to audio. You'll have an audio version that you can share out, that people can do the audio version when they're driving or whatever they do, and throw this podcast on and speak about about your brother, what it was. Just to hear too that he was a serious athlete on top of it, right? An Ironman. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us, for sure. We say that all the time, but until someone's taken from you, you're like, man, that's pretty true. Because as life goes on, or you might have some bad days here and there, but life for all purposes is pretty awesome. And so to have this out that you've impacted, so it's been 1,000, now it's 1,400. Come July, you have this bigger and better. Now, what on this virtual stage, what do you do? Is it a Facebook Live type of thing, or what do you do to make this virtual? How does this work? What platforms are used?
So this is going to stream on Facebook, yes, but we are going to have a VIP Zoom room where people will have access to be able to interact with each other, the guests with the other guests, and also be able to interact with the speakers. And I highly encourage everybody to join in on the VIP package offer, because that's where you can interact with the speakers and make new connections with other men and women in the group and stuff like that. And it's a very low price. I made it $25 to be able to be a part of the VIP room. And when I begin to start doing the speaker announcements, I have a flow page where it has the attachment with the Stripe link where you can get your VIP package offer with the Zoom link. It's also going to be streaming over onto our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has only been active now for about 3 weeks. And so it's going to stream over there. I haven't figured out how to stream on multiple platforms yet, and stuff like that. So we're going to figure that out before the summit, but it will be streaming over on Facebook, because we want to get the message out to the masses, because we want to help everybody to get unstuck. Because I can promise you this, everybody, my brother was taken from us without any warning. He was not the heart patient. I was. I've had open heart surgery in 1984. I had several heart procedures from 2004 to 2006. There was no sign of any heart issues. And he died instantly. And when he died, I got stuck. I don't want you folks to feel like you have to do this alone. My team and I, Austin and I, and Mark, and all of the speakers who I can vouch for, they're all very dear friends and family. We want to pour into you. We want to love you. We want to bring you up with us. We want to help you through this challenge. This summit will help you do that.
Yeah, this is awesome. For a $25 VIP ticket to listen to a good dozen or more speakers to pour into you. Or maybe you're the one that needs to pour into somebody else and you don't know how to. And then you're going to hear stories that are going to lift you, out of the ashes into, where can I go from here? I can tell you this. Curing depression is, I tell everybody that you feeling depressed today, then go pour into somebody else and that depression will go away.
Yep.
Because you can't sit. I think it's the same thing as jujitsu sometimes. We talk about it all the time. You cannot be depressed when you step on the jujitsu mat and someone's trying to strangle you and break your arm and choke you out unconscious. If for some reason depression does not enter into the equation of that. And so that might be something that you are looking for, what can replace things. And if like somebody like me, that is a cleansing. Stepping on the mat is a cleansing. It lets me know I'm still here. It lets me know I'm alive. It lets me know I have purpose. It also lets me know I'm very vulnerable. And if I'm not sharp on my game, I'm going to get my ass choked out. So, and then you carry those lessons off the mat, just like I said, I think I can't remember what you said in this podcast. It was beyond the fear or something like that. I'm like,
Beyond fear.
Yeah. I said, that's a pretty good book right there. It's, lessons I've learned on this mat and past, whether it's not just the punching and kicking. It's helping those that are in a relationship static or grief-stricken, kids not responding the way you hoped. I've done a lot of things, Dave, that in the moment you're like, this is so awesome. And then when you think about it, and I'll end with one of my stories the most, and then I'll let you wrap up. But we did it was a kids terminally ill camp. And they asked if we would come and do martial arts. And then I said, how many kids? We're talking about 50 or 60 children that everybody we interacted with that day would not be here by the end of the next year.
Oh, wow.
And I'm telling you that was a really hard, because we sat and did crafts with them. We talked, and they were so normal. It was, some of them was like, what's the deal? Some were very sick. And then we said, what would this look like if we promoted every kid here to a yellow belt? And so I started reaching out to friends and I said, hey, we need to buy belts for every kid. I need some help. And the studios that I knew jumped in right away, being able to get belts up to us that day. And then we promoted every little kid to yellow belt that day. And I'll tell you the saddest thing about it. There's a couple of them that you really start to love on. And because of how it was and the HIPAA laws and all that kind of stuff, one of the little girls, especially that I was kind of connected with, I knew that she was, I got word that she's not doing well. And, they could not release where she was. I could not go see her. Ooh. I was so bummed out about that. And I always remember that. And so that was probably one of my most impactful camps I ever did. And so sad when we think about it now, and so happy when what we were able to do for them in the moment. And these kids you could not be in a bad mood around them. You couldn't say your life is depressing. There's just no way, and so excited about getting karate belts. It was just a really good day. So I'm looking forward to being able to share stuff like this, and to encourage those that are out there listening to this kind of stuff. When you feel depressed, or when you feel like there's no hope, or when you feel that, what am I here for? You step out of your comfort zone and go help somebody else. I don't care what that looks like for you, and bring your gifts to the table. You are going to change lives, but more importantly, your life in turn is going to be changed based on that, on what happened. So I'm going to turn this mic back over to you. Let you have a few last words before we duck out, and then we'll talk about how to register for this summit and stuff like that. So let me turn it over to you, Dave, and take it away.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for sharing that story. One thing I want to close with is this. On April 19th, one of the last things I said to my brother, we were excited because we were doing a surprise for my mom, and it was a small surprise. She had her car at the dealership and the tires were balding. And so he and I decided that we were going to replace the tires for her. And he texted me and said, it's been paid for. It's done. Can you go pick up the car tonight? Because we were going to change out the taking care of the dogs because my parents were on vacation, as I shared earlier. And I said, yeah, I can go pick it up because Tawny, my ex-wife, was going to go over to the house and then she could take me down to the dealership. And he said, great, perfect. Talk to you later, bud. And I said, Joe, I love you. And I'll talk to you soon. 2 hours later, I got the phone call that he was gone. It crushed me. I always thought I knew what a broken heart was. When one of my ex-girlfriends, the ex-girlfriend before my wife, broke up with me. That wasn't a broken heart. When we said earlier, we're not guaranteed of tomorrow, it's true. We're not. Let's make the choice now to make that climb to the summit. And let's unite together as a family. And let's honor our loved ones and create that legacy. Embrace your loved ones now. Tell them you love them every single day, multiple times throughout the day. Because you never know when God's going to call them home.
Beautiful. All right, before we end, I just want to tell the audience, when you guys are re-listening to this or replays, make sure that in the comments you hit replay, you share this kind of video with others that can hear it. It will be released in audio today. The audio version of this will be on my my page at markcox.com is the all the audios of all the interviews I've done, and we'll have that. Now in there, Dave, will also be a clip. I will go back into our YouTube. I need you just to send me your book link and the link for this summit, and I will insert it into where people can go. When I forward you all the download of the audio version of this, when I download that to you, in the captions, I will put all the summit registration and the book. You just send all that stuff to me and I will put it out there. I want to encourage my audience out there, as I'll share it with my family, that I'm going to be on there speaking and I'm going to talk about Cody, and I will have a surprise on some ways. I don't want to give everything away, what I'm going to talk about, but there's ways to overcome and ways to help. And I will use Cody, and I'll use the martial arts and funny stories about him for sure, that he was, and stories about how he saved others, and who we met at his funeral. You never know who you meet at the funeral.
Yep.
What he did for people. It's always been amazing on those stories alone. So with that being said, I will have all that stuff for you, Dave. This hour has been impactful. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure the speakers that you have lined up will bring something to the table for all of us. And I will make sure that it is shared out on my platforms everywhere. And then maybe what we'll do is a small post interview again on here. And let's talk about, hey, this is what's happened as we get ready to go to the next summit that's going down the line, so people can see what this was about. Okay, sound good?
Sounds good, buddy. Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much. And one thing I forgot to mention, everybody, if you get the VIP package offer, you will get the recordings for the entire summit that's included in the VIP package offer. I want to make sure I get that out there. So It's a long day with 15 to 30 speakers because I'm still bringing speakers in. So I just want you to know you will get the entire recordings a part of the package offer with the VIP.
Yeah, a VIP for $25 is unheard of. Okay, we're talking about 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks, if not 2. And when you do those little sugary stuff that are venti sized, so let's put that money to use to help others. I can help you a little bit more, Dave, if you're talking about having, learning. I'm not sure how Zoom works, but this StreamYard, just so you know, I'm right now streaming to 7 different platforms on here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so StreamYard already makes it so easy that I'm on 3 different, I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Facebooks, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on YouTube right now. So StreamYard can do what you're looking for. I'm not sure if Zoom is as user-friendly as that or not, but this also, if you have a presentation, it's very easy to hit present, and you invite those that are presenting, and you can present online. So if that's something that you need help with, I can help you out with that.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. All right. We'll talk soon. All right. Those that joined us, I appreciate it. Put your comments out there, like and share. Make sure you guys do me a favor. Go to beyondthemat.com. You can go to beyondthemat.com and that's my website. It'll go right to Mark Cox. But if you go to the audio, guys, do me a favor and just do a subscribe on YouTube and do a like and subscribe to the audio podcast. Believe it, in the podcast world, those are more important sometimes than just downloads. It's a subscription. So if you can do that to help us out and then push it out to your people, go out there. I've got beautiful interviews and some stuff in my life by itself, but I will see you on the other side. All right. Stay good.
You've been listening to Beyond the Mat. Our passion is martial arts, and that branches off to coaching, business, and health. So we think it's important to sit down with professionals, coaches, authors, entrepreneurs, anyone who's making waves beyond the confines of the dojo. Thanks for coming over. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at markcox.com and hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Beyond the Mat Podcast. Find the show on Spotify and Apple. Beyond the Mat. Till next time.